Hey, everybody. Before we get started on this episode, I just wanted to send out an apology and also a thank you. So, just wanted to apologize for the week of no new episode. Me and Danny, had just some life family stuff going on, and it made it hard to not only get together and do a recording, but also just to even get the one out that we did prior. So, do apologize for that. But I do want to thank you just for your support and just listening. Please, hope that you continue listening. Hope you enjoy this show. And if you've got comments or if you would feel welcome to do some ratings for us, that would be great. We'd really appreciate it. So thank you and enjoy the show. Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock.
My name is Danny.
And we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, welcome back. And welcome back to Brock. If you didn't know, Brock's been on a road trip and it was amazing, wasn't it, Brock?
It was amazing and long.
Yeah. Usually I would say, how was your day? But I'm having to think right now that your day was probably just that long, right?
Yeah, today was blurry, but it was good.
Yeah. So how long were you gone? What was it? 2 weeks?
We left May 28th in the morning and headed up to Wisconsin. Drove through the rain, and it was really uneventful for the first few hours until we got up into the Chicago area, and then the first of many memorable events took place driving through Chicago, because my son, 8 years old, sitting in the back seat, driving along, trying to concentrate on the road because, of course, it's Chicago traffic and it's crazy. And it's raining and foggy, and they're all like looking at the skyscrapers and everything. And all of a sudden, my son goes, "Papa, what is that hot dog looking vehicle over there?" And I'm like, "Well, we're in Chicago. So, I mean, there's lots of hot dog kind of esque things. What are you talking about?" I look over, and the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is on the parallel highway to us.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like geeking out like a little kid. I'm like, "Oh, man." And he thinks it's the neat looking thing, but he has no idea, like, the full reason why it's so cool. But
yeah, with the magnitude.
Yeah. And I didn't think we'd actually get any closer to it because of the way it was going, but it was one of those where the highway actually connects to where we were at. And so we ended up right beside it. So I've got some awesome pictures of us right beside the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile.
Yeah. I saw one of them on Facebook actually. And I had that same moment that you had. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. And like you said, your kid's not going to get it. It's just not, well, sure, it's a hot dog. And that in itself is cool.
Well,
but
my wife was like,
the hot dog. I mean, the hot dog.
And my wife was like, "What? I don't get it. Like, what's the big deal?" I'm like, I had a buddy in college that interned for them for a summer and got to drive one of those around the country and hand out weenie whistles to everybody. I'm like, she's like, "Oh, that's why you have a weenie whistle in that like one random box downstairs." I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I have that."
Yeah, as it should be. Come on.
Yeah.
My wife's got to get on board here. These are cool. Come on.
She's just making me feel old every time.
Yeah. I know that feeling for sure. Now, I know you got a bunch to talk about, but I want to say first, going on a road trip is kind of a thing for parents. It's what your family does. Hey, summer road trips are a big thing. And even if it will be some little bumps in the road, to use a proper pun, it's going to be great memories, right? It's going to be like, this is when we look back. You remember that year when we went up and we saw in this case, we saw the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. Are you kidding? And those moments that are going to be like, they'll live with them forever, in a lot of cases. So overall, if you're looking back on it, is it more, this was an amazing, oh my God, great time, or wow, we really run into a lot of just bumps in the road, roadblocks, obstacles. This was more difficult than I thought. How did it go? Because you took a big trip, man.
We took a big trip. Yeah, it was 5,000. It turned out to be 5,850 miles. So yeah, and we just got back yesterday. Honestly, it was more amazing than anything else.
Cool.
We did not have the bumps that you would expect. The kids were awesome. my wife and I had a great time. We tend to work really well as a team. And so there were a few times where like, we were not in great moods, but typically that was because we hadn't eaten yet and we were dealing with crazy children. So once you got food and coffee and tea into us, we were happy. And that only happened a couple of times, and we had some more adversity type things to deal with. So I'll give you a couple of the highlights. One, in all the driving that we did, we had 2 days of rain. 2. So for 2 weeks of everything, we had 2 days of rain, and they were both on transit days. So nothing where we were like in a place trying to do something and it was raining. The one I guess you could say was sort of mixed was when we went down to Astoria and Cannon Beach, Oregon, so that I could get my Goonie fix and get my pictures of the Walsh House and the Haystack Rocks and all that stuff. And it was rainy and cold and wind blowing. But hey, it's Oregon. What do you expect? And we ate crab cakes right there at the beach in Cannon Beach, and it was blowing and whipping and whatnot. And the kids would never have known any different. They had a blast and enjoyed eating the crab cakes and everything else. So it was a good time. But like the weather was awesome. We only had a couple situations where like we showed up at like Mount St. Helens and it was raining still from the Astoria ride, and it was so wet that we were like, screw it, I'm not putting a tent up. And so the wife and the kids slept in the camper and I slept in the front seat of the Highlander. And
there you go.
It works. I mean, the seats go back far enough. Sleeping bag, it was all good. Did that for a couple of nights. We got on the road, no big deal. You can do that. Like you said, if mainly just 2 days in transit, you weren't putting up tents or taking tents down in the rain, which is what I always end up doing for whatever reason. We're going to put up a tent. Oh, it starts raining. And it's almost a joke with my wife now. She just looks around and says, it's not raining yet. You want to put up the tent? I'm like, no, I think we should wait till it rains because I don't want to break the habit here. It's always wet inside, and that's just how it gets. So that's great that you got the weather. That's cool. Yeah, the weather was awesome.
Pacific Northwest, and you mentioned before you were leaving that you were going to go look for whales. I didn't hear anything about whales. So did you see whales?
We did not see whales. That was a bust. That did not work out the way that we had hoped it would. So
sure.
No whales.
Always more chances though.
Exactly. There'll be other options for it. So we'll see how it goes. Actually, we might make a trip to the Atlantic and actually come down into the area of Georgia, because I hear they have whales at the aquarium down there, I believe. Did you guys have like a whale shark?
Have a whale shark. Yep. And it is breathtaking. I mean, I'm sure anyone that's been to any aquarium or in any way seen a whale shark, it's just, I mean, I don't have the words. It's incredible.
So that's on the list of things to maybe just drive down and check out. So that way the kids, we might do it all in just this year too. We might just go down when it, after it starts getting cold here, head down south where it's warm for a little while.
Yeah. Go get some warm weather.
Right.
Yep. Well, I won't be here, but I'll watch on Facebook and see how much you enjoy it. So
it's all good.
Tennessee's got a great aquarium too, and hey, hit them both. I've been to theirs and it's amazing. The Georgia Aquarium is, like I said, it's breathtaking. I'm still on the list to try somehow to get to scuba dive in the tank with the whale shark. There's a list for that, and it's been every time it's either I wasn't picked or I didn't have the money when they picked me. So they picked me one time and I'm like, isn't it? Oh no, I can't afford that today. But I would love to go scuba diving with a whale shark.
That is cool.
So, but that's cool. You got a lot, like you said, you got your Goonie fix, you got the Wienermobile, you went to Mount St. Helens. Those are all great things.
Yeah.
What other landmarks did you hit? Did you hit anything?
Oh yeah, we hit a ton of stuff. So yeah, I got to meet lots of dads while we were out, which was really cool. So the first stop was in Wisconsin, and I got to meet, I got to hang out with Paul Gordon and his family. So we had a good time with them. Their boys immediately latched on to my kids, and they had all kinds of fun. Actually, Paul sent me a message and was just like, yeah, like my kids are asking when you guys are going to come back up again. We're like,
nice.
Not for a while, buddy.
It'll be a while.
Yeah. And then, so from there, we met up with Charlie O'Hara and his family in Sioux Falls. That was a lot of fun. And then after that, it was on to camp. So we drove, everybody kept asking, are you going to go to the Badlands? Are you going to go to the Badlands? And I'm like, I hadn't actually planned it. It wasn't on the list, but I saw that it was just a slight detour. And I was like, we got to do it. Like, and then too, like Charlie was like, you realize that's where Armageddon was filmed. And I was like, oh, okay, we got to go. Like, I love that movie. We got to go check that out. So, so we get there and we roll up to the guard shack, and it's like $35 to drive the loop in the Badlands. And I'm like, woo, that's steep, brother. Like that's some change.
That's surprising, but.
And I look over at my wife and she's like, what if you show them your military stamp on your license? Does that get you anything? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it does. And it was Memorial Day weekend. So like roll up, the guy's like talking to us and I'm like, hey, like I've got my military armed forces stamp here. And he was like, oh, he's like, what'd you serve? I was like, I served in the Navy. He's like, oh, the lady the guy that's talking to, there was like a lady there as well. And he's like, he's like, get him the American, the Beautiful pass. And I'm like, oh, sweet. And so basically because if you're military, both active or veteran, they will give you a free pass to admittance into all of the national parks.
Nice.
So that was awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was sort of the kicker. It was like, all right, sweet. So we drove in and got to see just some amazing sights. I couldn't even have understood what I was getting into until we got there. And so
yeah,
that was cool. And then got to see prairie dogs. We saw so many animals. It was so much wildlife. It was
that's
awesome.
great, especially for the kids. I mean,
yeah,
especially if you've never seen it except maybe on TV or National Geographic or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's a prairie dog. That's cool.
Yeah. So they got to see prairie dogs up close. I mean, they were like 10 feet from prairie dogs. My daughter was just like infatuated. I mean, if she could have had her hands on one, it'd have been like that little girl from Finding Nemo. She would have like latched on. I'm serious. Well, we ended up stopping we ended up stopping in Walls, which is like a big kind of like touristy area outside of the Badlands. And she saw a stuffed animal prairie dog and she's like, I want one of these. And we're like, all right, fine. So she's got that. She named it Buttercup. It's really cute.
There you go.
And she had that thing the whole trip.
That's great. So
we went there. We went to Mount Rushmore. That was really cool to see. And then I really wanted to see Crazy Horse. Everybody kept saying like, you got to see the Crazy Horse Memorial. And other people were like, they haven't done anything to it in years. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to see it. So I go there. And I'm really big on research and finding out why things are the way they are. So I get there and we we watch this video and we got a lot of information off of that. And then we took the bus up to the base of the monument and you come to find out some amazing things. So Crazy Horse was a independent deal. Like the Indians contracted a Polish immigrant to be the sculptor for this thing. The government tried to give them money. They refused to take any money from them because they didn't want the government to have any input in it. So it's all been independent funded. They did all this blasting and did all this carving. I mean, the head is huge. The head is bigger than any of the heads at Mount Rushmore.
Oh, wow. Really?
Oh yeah. It like astronomically bigger. So the thing with Mount Rushmore is like it's really cool and it's really neat to see all four of those faces. That monument is actually incomplete. They stopped funding it after World War II. It was supposed to be full busts of each one of those presidents, and they stopped doing it. Like you can see a little bit of the lapel on Washington, but that's it. But with the Crazy Horse, so the head of Crazy Horse is like 80 some feet tall. The heads of each one of the presidents is like 42 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And on top of that, the flowing hair of Crazy Horse in his monument will fit all four presidents in that hair.
Wow.
So
that's pretty epic.
It was pretty wild. And then on top of that too, like they stopped, everybody's like, oh, they're not blasting anymore. They're not getting any further. It's like, yeah, they stopped blasting because in 2015, they had basically blasted away everything they needed to, and now they're doing precision cuts with diamond lines. So they actually showed these like sweet diamond cut lines that they use to make these very pristine things. And so last year, like they had a picture from last year and then a picture from like this, or like, what was it? Pictures from like the past like 2 years showing the progress that they had made. The thing with it is that you can't really see the progress from the ground because right now they're carving the hand that points out. But the pictures show it, and it's really neat. So that was fun to find out, and I had a lot more appreciation. Actually, you can go out there and volunteer and help out with it, which is really cool.
That is cool, yeah.
But they only have a team of 15 people that are carving that thing. Mount Rushmore was carved by 400 people.
I was going to say there were hundreds. I didn't know how many, but yeah.
So that's pretty neat. And then on top of it too, while you're out there, so the rubble they have blasted away and stuff. There's a gentleman who will load up a pickup truck full of that rubble and bring it back and dump it into this box. And you can actually take a piece with you as like, a souvenir for free.
For free too.
Yeah, for free. Yeah. I mean, they just want it gone because where that rubble's at, actually, it all has to be cleared out anyways, because eventually they want to put in like this mirror pool underneath the memorial. So,
now that'll be cool.
Yeah,
that would really make it.
Yeah, it's the finished product of what they show of it. I mean, it's awesome. The bad part is that like it's one of those things where I don't know if any of us will ever see it finished in its lifetime, just because of how much is involved in it. But that was probably one of the more impressive things that I saw on the trip, honestly. So we did that.
And it was unplanned, right? I mean, you weren't really going to go on to it at first and then decided to, or did you know going out?
I didn't know it existed at first.
Right.
And then I put it on the plans to go. So, and I'm really happy that I did. Like the kids had an awesome time. They got to experience a lot of really cool culture that they had never seen before. My wife and I got to enjoy hearing some very native American music, which was really cool. They actually had like a signed artist there, which was really neat too. So it was really cool to get to hear all kinds of stuff, music and songs and things like that. So we did that. And then we went to Devil's Tower. So from there we left and went to Deadwood, and that's where I got the Deadwood Tobacco Company. I stopped and I picked up 4 sticks of cigars. It was like a really quick run in, grab them and leave. And then we headed to Devil's Tower and we did lunch there and had one of the funniest experiences with our camper, with people. So that camper attracts attention. Because of just its uniqueness with the fact that it's, kind of a different build. So we pull into this parking lot. We've got a front row seat to Devil's Tower. It's awesome. Like we didn't even have to go into the park because I was like, we can just pull in this parking lot and like get all the pictures we want and not have to go in and deal with like the crowd and the lines of cars. So we stop, pop the top on the back of the camper and start fixing lunch. And I'm in the back there with my wife getting lunch around. And all of a sudden I hear from the road that we just pulled off of someone go, "Wow, that's amazing." And I look over and this Jeep makes an immediate left right into the parking lot. And I'm like, oh, and these 2 ladies pull up and they're just like, "Your camper is awesome." And the lady in the passenger seat's talking to me. The driver is hearing impaired. And so she's interpreting the person in the passenger seat is interpreting everything that I'm telling her. And she's asking tons of questions about the camper. Yeah. But I told her, I was like, "I heard you guys from the road." And she just started laughing. She's like, "It was just so cool to see." And then we had another guy with the camper.
It's one of a kind. I mean,
oh yeah, it is. And we had another guy with a camper roll up, and he was like, "Man, that's really cool." He's like, "Is that a home build?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, I like yours. That's really cool." He's like, "You want to look inside?" And I'm like, "Yeah," because he had like one that was twice the size of ours, and it was a manufacturer build, but it had like everything. It was insane. So yeah, it was just funny, like all these different people coming up and checking it out. So
Yeah, it's definitely one of a kind. I mean, just from the pictures of it, it's just that's amazing. I can't wait to actually see it in person. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, at Home Dad Con, David will have it at the convention for sure. So
that'll be fantastic. Yeah.
And I've got so many pictures on my phone and in my computer that or on my phone and on the DSLR that I still need to get off and post and edit and all that fun stuff.
Did you get any shots while you were at the Badlands? Because I know you were driving. So
no, we stopped and got lots of photos.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
I've got some awesome photos. Actually, I think I posted a few maybe on Instagram. But yeah, I took some amazing shots there. I actually got down in the like cavernous areas, and there's one picture where my son is like up on a rock, and he's only like, I don't know, 20 feet up or whatever on this rock, but I'm down like another like 20, 30 feet in this cavern, in this like little like ravine. So the shot up is just him with the rock and his blue skies in the background. And he's just got his hands wide out, like just completely like he's ready to fly. So that was a good time.
I want to see that one for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to
that. So we went there, and then we went to on our way from Devil's Tower. We were headed to Bozeman, Montana, and we had a really cool experience with a train on the way to Bozeman. With the train, we came right up alongside this train. So like the highway and there was a bit of field, and then there was the tracks. And so he's blowing his horn. I think he was just trying to like be goofy because there wasn't anything around for him to like blow his horn, but we were the only car coming up. And so I think he was trying to get our attention. And I was like, I'm pretty sure this train is like blowing his horn at us. My wife was driving at the time. And, we roll up beside it, and she starts honking her horn at the train. And this engineer slides the window open and hangs himself halfway out of it and starts waving at us. It's like starts blowing his horn, and we have our windows down, and we're all like, yeah. It was awesome. So it was a really I've never experienced anything like that with a train. So, and the kids were just like ramped up.
It. Yeah, that's gonna be one of those things. They're like, oh yeah, and the train was just blowing the horn. It's just amazing. It's one of those just incredible things that, like you said, I've never experienced it, and it's not something that we get to see really in our lifetime. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That was a really fun experience. Got some amazing sunset pictures that night too, and then made it into Bozeman, and man, we just had an amazing view of the sky in Bozeman. It was awesome. Just so many stars, and the kids were having a ball. I wish we could have stayed longer in Bozeman, but unfortunately we rolled in super late, and basically rolled in, got unpacked, got dinner, went to bed, woke up in the morning, packed it all back up, and got on the road again.
Got back on the road.
It was like, man, they have a pool and everything. we never made it in the pool. And then from there we went to Spokane, and the drive from Montana to Spokane was very interesting because we saw some really interesting cultural differences. And we talked about that with the kids a little bit too. Just, what do you guys see out there right now? And then later, what did they see? And it was just very downtrodden in a lot of areas. You could see where people were struggling. I think there was a mine or something out there that just completely flattened or debunked or something like that. And so the town just sort of unfortunately took the brunt of it, which then of course trickles into the people. And so that was the other thing with the trip was, for a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old to see different cultural things going around and us to be able to talk to them about it was, to me, the educational piece that you just don't get sometimes where you live. You can see it sometimes, but to be able to travel the country and see it as you're driving along brings up some good conversations. So
yeah, very much so.
So we did that, got to see pronghorn, lots of pronghorn antelope along the way, which was really cool. And made it to Spokane, where we hung out with Brian Frampton. And Brian has a special connection with our family because when my wife's parents' house burnt down 2 years ago when we were on a cruise, Brian stepped up and sent my father-in-law a huge box of clothes. because my father-in-law lost all, like they all lost all their clothes.
Yeah, everything.
And so we were really excited to get to see them. My wife was really excited to finally get to meet him in person. And then we're sitting there during dinner, and Brian's wife was like, "Hey, I'm going to send you home. I'm going to send you with a couple of bottles of our family wine." And I'm like, "Ooh, that sounds cool." And my wife, like, her ears perk up because she's like, "Ooh, wine. All right. Now you're talking my language."
That's right.
And I get to talking to her, and she tells me that the name of the wine is Eisenhower. And I step back and sit back in the chair, and I go, "How do you spell it?" And I was like, "How do you spell Eisenhower?" And she tells me, it's Isenhower. And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's one of the 5 spellings of Eisenhower." And she's like, "How do you know about that?" And I'm like, "Well, because my mom's an Eisenhower too."
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, how do you guys spell it?" And I was like, "We spell it Eisenhauer.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, "Oh," she's like, "That's the original spelling." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And then, of course, she goes, "Well, I'm related to Dwight D. Eisenhower, president." I'm like, "So are we." And then we both take a step, take a breath, and we're like, "So we're distant cousins?"
That's right.
Okay.
You're related.
Wow. Yeah. Who would have knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that just made that visit that much more interesting. We had a great time just talking about family stuff, because she was like, "I have this person and this person in my family tree." I'm like, "Yep, got those same people. We're definitely related."
Nice. That's cool.
And so that was just fun. And I got to try.
How was the wine?
Like, they sent us with the bottles.
You got bottles. Okay.
Yeah, we got bottles.
One yet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just curious.
No. One's a 2008. The other one's like a 2019. So some nice vintage stuff there. We did try whiskey. We did try some Washington whiskey while we were there, though. Brian bought us a bottle of Dry Fly, 101 proof whiskey, which 101 proof in the whiskey world, bourbon world, is considered distiller's select. So this is something that the distiller came up with, and it is very unique. It's good. It's very unique. It has, so the one thing that Corey and I discussed was these whiskeys that we were going to get at these different states are going to probably have different taste based on the pact of the water and the corn of where they're getting it in their state.
Yeah.
So when we tried the Dry Fly, I was like, something really just doesn't, like, it's got this weird sort of taste to it I've never tasted in a whiskey before. I don't know what this is. And then last night I tried it again here at the house, and I figured it out. It has a very interesting smoked salmon flavor to it.
Really? That's very interesting.
It's very wild. Like, there is just this very interesting, like, fish type of taste to it that I really wasn't sure what it was, but it's good. Like I said, it's very unique. But it fits, like, the fact that you're talking about, like, fly fishing and, salmon's up in that area. Like, it totally fits for its state. So I was really happy to get a bottle of that. He picked it up from the distillery itself. So yeah, so that was kind of one of that, along with the Border bourbon that I got in Wisconsin. And then I'd picked up a Wyoming bourbon as well. So I'd already picked up 3 by then. So I got a total of like 9 bottles of bourbon over this 2-week time period.
Alrighty then. Yeah. Now it's a party. Okay.
Yeah. So we hung out with them, and then we drove down and hung out with Joe Saladino and his family for a few days. And Joe had a blast because he took pictures of us the entire time when we were there. And so if you don't know about Joe Saladino's stuff, go check out Joe Saladino Photography on Instagram, and I believe he's on Facebook as well. I don't know if that's where he's posted all. I know he's got his watermark on his stuff that he took of us, but I don't know if it's just in his personal thing that he sent out or what. But man, he just captured our trip there with him. We went to like Hurricane Ridge and saw some amazing stuff there, and it was just a good trip. It's funny too, because like, he didn't have a big bulky camera. He's got like this really cool like camera that looks like an old 35 millimeter actually, with a fixed lens on it. And
wow.
Yeah, I mean, the pictures are amazing that he took.
Yeah, he got some great shots because he did put them up on his personal page, and looking at them like, wow, oh yeah, and just some of them, I'm just like, okay, this is why this guy's a photographer, because I know I would not have gotten that shot, and it's simple stuff, but it's just the technique that he has, and then also you can hear it when he posted about it, he wrote about how much he loved doing that part of it, kind of chronicling a trip or an experience. He does good work. So
yeah, no, he does. I mean, he captured so much, like pictures of me like driving and stuff, it was awesome. That
shot he put up, the black and white shot.
My gosh, I know, right?
That's like a headshot. You need to put that somewhere. That needs to be your shot, because that thing, that looks good.
Yeah, that might end up being my new headshot, honestly.
Well, I mean, he does good work. Yeah. And it really captures, like you said, because probably most people haven't seen it yet, but the fact that Joe was sitting in the passenger seat, took a picture of you while you were driving, and the road ahead is reflected in your glasses, and the lenses of your glasses. Yeah. And it's just like, that is epic. That is just a really well-made photo.
Yeah. And I guarantee that was not his intention to make the reflection in there. Like, he was literally just like snapped the shot, and I think afterwards was like, oh, cool. So
yeah.
But yeah, so that was awesome, and we got to see just really cool stuff. And we didn't plan, like you were talking about whales, so we didn't plan to go to Hurricane Ridge. Originally, I thought we were going to go see whales. Unfortunately, the place that we went to didn't have the view that I thought it had, so there was no way of seeing that. And he said, the percentage of getting to actually see whales is pretty tiny. And I was like, all right, fine. And so we drove up to Hurricane Ridge and just enjoyed that. We got to see our first black bear while we were up there, so that was cool because the kids got to see their first black bear in person. We got to see our first black bear person.
Yeah.
Joe's son got to see his first black bear in person too, and I mean, it was like 20 feet from us, so
yeah,
it was a pretty awesome experience to do that. And then and then we ate dinner, and then my son threw up in the car.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Only once? I mean, only once this whole, 18 days, however long you were gone, 2 weeks, whatever it was.
Only once.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, we had some good spreads for some things. So only took that long for us to get that to happen, and it happened the one time. So not a big deal. Got that all taken care of. So then we left, and we went from his place down to Astoria and Cannon Beach. Like I said, did the whole Goonies thing. That was a lot of fun. I wanted to stop and get a shirt, but it was so gross out, like in the kids and area. We were just wet, and I was like, not even gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna take the time to look around for something.
Save that money for bourbon. I mean, come on, we know how this works.
Exactly, you know how this works. So then we made it to Mount St. Helens, where we met up with my brother-in-law, Corey's brother, her only brother, and he's former Navy submariner, and lives out in the Portland area, works for a company out there. And so he got a couple days to come out and camp with us, which was really cool because we haven't seen him in quite a while. And it was just fun. Like, he actually, so my father-in-law is a farmer, and he's really big into Alice Chalmer tractors, and he has a couple of really old ones, and he's always searching for parts for them. And apparently he came across a gearbox out about an hour from Portland, and he got my brother-in-law Clayton to go get it. And Clayton was like looking at the price to ship it to Illinois, and he was like, holy cow, it's expensive. And he's like, oh wait, you guys are coming out. Can I just put it in your car and you take it to Illinois, since you're going to be stopping there anyways? And I was like, yeah, it's going to cost you a bottle of bourbon. And he was like, done. What do you want?
Yeah, good deal. That's a good deal.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, what do you got? And he's like, I've really been enjoying the small batch 1792. And I was like, you know what? I've never had it before. He's like, great. He's like, I have an unopened bottle here for you. And I was like, perfect. So that was the trade. So that's how I got that bottle of bourbon.
That bottle is pretty impressive too. They've got a pretty cool looking. I mean, even if it wasn't a bourbon bottle, it's just a very cool looking.
It's very
bottle,
elegant. So. Yeah.
1792. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. Now, have you had any of the 1792?
Not yet. No, it's it's one of the ones I haven't cracked yet. So
I liked it myself. I enjoyed it a lot. It was a good, and I only had, I didn't take the whole bottle, obviously, but I had probably 2 fingers or so, and just sat and sipped it, and it was just really well done.
Nice.
So,
I'm looking forward to it. I've heard lots of good things about it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure. Well, and tonight I'm drinking the Border bourbon from the 45th parallel distillery that's right on the Wisconsin Minnesota border, and man, it's super smooth and got a little bit of heat on it, but I like it a lot. So
I will probably be joining you in that very soon, because that's where my wife's family lives. Is right
you
over
need
there
to find
Minneapolis and stuff in there. Well, I'm sure it'll be like waiting for me next time I mention you. It'll be like, yeah, you know what? But they're really nice about, well, you're leaving everything and you're coming up here. We'll get you a bottle of bourbon. I think that's a good trade-off. I mean, that's
it's a good start.
Do it. It's a good start. Yeah.
It's a good start.
Nice.
So nice. That was the other thing. When I was in Wisconsin, I also picked up a 6-pack of New Glarus Spotted Cow, because you can't not go to Wisconsin and get New Glarus.
What you got to do. Yeah.
So yeah. Well, that was the other thing too. So I picked up beer along the way as well. Brian gave me a bunch of different beers from his area in Spokane, and then Jake and Joe, because I got to be on their podcast. Actually, we recorded.
Oh, you got to see them too?
Cool. Yeah, well, because I was hanging out with Joe, and Jake lives right across the street from him. So we did a quick review the first night we were there, and that they've already posted that on their Sad Beer Cast on Instagram. So we'll have to make sure we get a link in there for people to see that. And then we recorded an episode. We did like 2 hours of talking and drinking, and they gave me a bunch of different beer. I got a Pliny the Elder from Jake. He was like, here you go. I'm like, holy crap, I've never had this before, and I've only seen it in pictures. I'm excited. Like, this is awesome. So that's sitting in my refrigerator with a couple other beers that they gave me. They gave me some stuff from this place, Georgetown Brewing, which they had done an interview at, and those guys hooked them up really well. And man, their beer is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I lived closer. I would drink that every single day. It's so good.
Nice.
But yeah, so we hung out at in Mount St. Helens, got some awesome pictures. We were 30 minutes down the road from the observatory to the blast site of Mount St. Helens. So that was awesome. I've always wanted to see Mount St. Helens. I've been a volcano nerd as a kid. That's what I built my volcano when I was a student, like for science projects. And my son had been studying volcanoes, and he just was beside himself being able to see this massive.
Yeah.
So we had a fun time there, got some amazing pictures. And then along the way too, we were collecting Junior Ranger badges for the kids. So that was fun. So they got a lot of those. So that was cool. And we were doing smash pennies and walking stick, like metal placards or whatever that you can put on walking sticks. So I've been collecting all that stuff. So we've got a bunch of that too. So we did Mount St. Helens, went on to Brenda Dunes State Park, where we slept right beside the largest single standing sand dunes in the nation. It was like 470 feet high. And we got attacked by mayflies. Just a mayfly infestation. I'm
sorry to hear that. Those are the worst.
Bad. Yeah. So did that, then went on to, we decided to make a detour. This was something that hadn't been planned, but I saw that Craters of the Moon National Park was just a little bit north of where we were going to be going. Like, we could do like a 10-minute detour and get there. And this is a park I have never heard of. Have you ever heard of Craters of the Moon?
I was just going to say, I don't even know what that is.
Okay.
No, never.
So this place, like, if you are anyone of an astronaut, outer space guy, you've got to go to this place. So this is an old, like, volcanic area where he's Google searching it. I can see.
I'm looking at it. Yeah. I was trying not to say anything. I'm like, wait, no. I got to see this. So go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. So it is an old volcanic area where lava flows have come up. You can actually see them. There are all different lava formations. And you can actually camp inside of the park, and it basically looks like you're camping on the moon. And there are just massive craters and all kinds of just awesome lava rock styles there.
I'm geeking out.
It's super cool. I mean, it is like and it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, we joked, we're like, are we going to hear banjos soon? Like, aliens playing banjos, maybe. But the thing with it is that the astronauts actually that visited the moon, like they went out there to check it out, and they're like, wow, this is very reminiscent of what we saw.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just a really neat place. There's like a 7-mile loop that you can drive. We didn't do the loop drive because we were trying to get to our next destination, but we stopped at the visitor center and we did a full tour around there and checked everything out, and just got to see just amazing things there. So yeah, totally
That's
worth
beautiful.
Yeah, that totally worth it. If I get back out west again, I'd love to be able to camp out there because it would be really cool. You actually can get like a thing that says like I camped on the moon.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know it because I mean, looking at these pictures, it is just like you said. I mean, you could tell because some of them, you know, because the backgrounds and what have you. Okay, well, that's obviously not the moon, but you know, because there's a blue sky or whatever. Yeah. But wow, the landscape is just incredible.
Oh, I just want to go out there and stay for the night and take night pictures because there's nothing around. Like I don't think like if there's no way like there's any light pollution out there. So
right.
I imagine that the photography would just be epic. So yeah, that was one of those ones that was a fun drive in, drive out. And along the way too, we were collecting rocks like at different areas along the way. So and you can actually get to where you're like outside of the national park area and like you can, I mean, we snatched up rock, like a lava rock that was out there. So it's like, oh, this is just sitting on the side of the road.
It's just a rock here. I'm not taking anything away from it. Right.
Yeah. So that was really cool. But yeah, so we did that and then headed on to, gosh, where'd we go from there? We went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We actually stayed in Kelly. At this point we were like really like hoping to see elk, like really wanted to see elk. And we roll in and there's no elk anywhere because it's not that season. But when we get close to our spot, there are 2 moose across the river from where we were at. So I got to pull off and we got to see moose. So the kids got to see these massive moose. That was really neat. And then we camped out there at the Grand Tetons and we were like right across the road from like the Grand Tetons. It was awesome. My wife was beside herself. She's like, this is where I wanted to spend an extra day and we don't have time. I'm like, we'll just have to come back out, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's only like 1,500 miles to get out there or whatever. So I was like, it's not that bad of a drive. We can do it.
That's not, especially for a road trip. That's nothing.
Yeah, I was like, we can make that happen. So that was fun to get to go out there. And then we went on to Cheyenne, and the drive to Cheyenne. Oh my gosh, this was where some more adversity came into play. Probably the worst actually. So we had crosswinds of 60 miles an hour while we were driving there.
Woo.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
And the trailer did awesome. It's, we didn't have any issues with that. We get to Cheyenne and the wind dies down and we set up camp, right? Like, okay, great. We get dinner. Awesome. Go take showers. Awesome. I'm in the camper with my son, my wife and daughter are getting a shower. The camper starts rocking something fierce. I'm like, what is going on? I open up the door and you'd have thought a tornado was coming through. It was just blowing everywhere. And we knew that it was going to be high winds, but we didn't expect it to be quite that bad. It collapsed our tent. Like literally ripped the poles out of the pegs that were holding it down and it was on its side. So I had to go get my wife and was like, we got to take the tent down. And that was one of those nights where it's like her and the kids slept in that. And I slept in the front seat of the Highlander. We had one night where we all 4 slept in the camper. That was the thing I forgot to say. When we were at Jackson, we didn't have space for our tent. So all 4 of us packed into the camper. And we decided never to do that again.
Yeah, I was going to say, you learned pretty quick on that one.
Man, our daughter was in between us and she was a roly-poly and she was mainly rolling on my wife and my wife was like pushing her off on me. and my son the whole time is up in the Murphy bed going, what's the problem?
What's going on? Everything seems fine to me. I love this.
So that's how we ended up doing that and packed up and left Cheyenne, just kind of blah. But we picked up a really cool thing. We stayed at a KOA while we were there, and they had a map where you could buy individual magnets of the states. And so I had told my wife, I was like, hey, like my grandparents had something like this when they would go camping, and every time they would go to a different state, they would pick one up and slap it on there. So we bought magnets for every single place that we had gone to and we're going to for the trip. And so we've got that as a really cool like memory of like, these are all the places we went. And then like, these are all the places that we could go to. So
yeah. This is what we got left. Get them all.
Yeah. So that was there. And then, okay. And then this is probably the most insane thing ever. We drove over 800 miles in one day to get to my in-laws.
It's about crazy.
Yeah. So we drove from Cheyenne to Aquaka, Illinois, which is right on the Mississippi River, 815 miles. And we rolled in at like midnight, 1 o'clock. Midnight. Yeah. 12:30. But the thing with it was that we went from mountain to central time. So we even like lost an hour on top of that.
Yeah,
so
lost an hour time once.
So it was like 14, 16 hours, something crazy like that to get to them. And we spent a couple of days there. And then my brother-in-law, who had been camping with us in Mount St. Helens, decided that he was flying into town to surprise everybody. And so we stuck around for another extra day, and I took family photos of everybody because we actually have not all been together in 6 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. A great opportunity. I'm glad he was able to do that too.
Yeah, and that was and that trip was bittersweet. It was a good time, but unfortunately, the day before we left, we were out swimming. Everything was good. Came home, and my sister-in-law's horse died, and so they had to go pick up my brother-in-law. So they had to like leave it in the field and call somebody to get like a tractor. And when they got back, had to dig a hole for it. And I've never watched a horse get buried before, but let me just say that it's an experience.
Need a backhoe. Yeah, there's definitely. Yeah.
Well, you also need to make sure that when you go to put it in, that you get far enough behind it to where you're not hitting the horse. And unfortunately, there wasn't enough room because it was up against a fence. And my graphic advisory right here, just so anybody knows. So he hit it with the teeth of the backhoe. Yeah. And it just kaboom. And was like, oh, that's really bad. So yeah, it was pretty gross. So that was an experience. It was really sad. Like I felt bad for my sister-in-law. The horse was like 30 years old and she'd owned it for the past like 9 years, but it had a gut twist from laying down. And so, so that was
unfortunate.
You know, this is one of those things. It was like, that's a memory that I'll have of the trip.
Well, there you go.
And then on top of that, we decided to invite my mother-in-law and my niece to come here and visit for a week. So I've actually we brought back my mother-in-law and my niece with us. So we left with 4, came back with 6. Thank God we have a car that allows for that.
Yeah. Sounds like a successful road trip, really. I mean, you didn't come back with fewer people, so I call it a win.
Yeah, nobody got hurt. We're all good. We all made it back. We went to the zoo today so that my niece could see Fiona the hippo. So that was fun. But I mean, it was a great trip. Spent probably way more money than we expected. Gas prices was very interesting to find out. I will never live in Washington or Oregon. They are expensive out there. I think I paid $3.59 was the highest we paid per gallon. So that was pretty harsh.
It's surprising the differences. And like you said, what you mentioned earlier, Sully, about some of the cultural differences you get when you get out and drive around and go throughout the country. And that's definitely one of them, because the gas prices it's maybe only 50 cents more, but it feels like it doubled. You know, there's just a certain point. No, $3 is enough for a gas. No, it's $3.50. No, I don't know if I can, I wouldn't, like you said, I would never live there. It's a very, very surprising difference. And yet, of course, once you live in it, you get used to it. And it's just like, that's how much gas is. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, but it sounds like you had a great time, man. That's fantastic.
Thanks for holding down the fort while I was gone.
I tried. It got a little weird now and then, but I think we did okay. We'll find out. So but I'm definitely glad you're back. And I'm definitely glad you had a great time, and I'm looking forward to more pictures, honestly. The Badlands and Craters of the Moon. Just going to throw that out there. If you could put that on IG, that'd be great.
Oh yeah.
So, but I think with that, we're probably just going to wrap it up for the night.
Sounds like a plan.
Been a good long time talking, and I miss talking to you, and I'm glad you're back. So other than that, we'll see everybody next week.
Have a good one, everybody.
Good night.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.